Today on Shred Show, we talk about the Vapors by Superbrand. To order the Vapors and check out the rest of Superbrand's line, check out superbranded.com. Hello and welcome to Shred Show. I am your host, Chris Groh, and today, by the request of NLA Rocco 1 and Yasha in Auckland, New Zealand, we are doing the Vapors by Superbrand. I'm really excited. I just picked up this board from the Superbrand warehouse today, and as we're unwrapping it, I want to give a shout out to Ryan Cannon. Ryan, you uploaded a really fun edit of you and your friends snowboarding and skiing, and the weather was beautiful and the song was amazing, and I'm going to make that the subscriber video of the day. I'm going to link that below in the info for this video. You can check that out. Everyone else watching, probably worth checking out that video too if you like snowboarding and if you like really good music. I think the name of the song is, I think it's like Gypsy and the Cat is the name of the band. We're doing this board and I'm really excited about it because Superbrand, to me, if you're not familiar with Superbrand surfboards, Super to me is like the 18-year-old girl at the party in high school that is your buddy's little sister and you're just noticing that she's hot for the first time. Super is young, it's fresh, it's a real fresh take on surfboards and surfboard branding. Their team has some of the most progressive guys of this generation. Dion Aegis, Craike, Clay Marzo, and more. And speaking of Dion Aegis, that guy seems to have the sweetest deal on the planet because his sponsors pay him to go on surf trips to places that there aren't even waves. If this is your first time watching the show, we talk about surfboards. If you like the video, click like. If you really like it, click favorite. And if you want to say hi, do so in the comments below. Before we get into this board, I want to know, what is your favorite board that you've ever surfed and why? You guys request a lot of surfboards to be on the show, but I also want to know not just the boards that you want to surf and that you want to talk about, but what are your favorite boards that you have surfed? Why was it your favorite? Who shaped it? What kind of waves did you surf it on? I'd really like to know, so tell us in the comments. Starting out with the Vapors, we always start by giving our boards a rub, because when we rub the board will start telling us about it. It'll start telling us things that it wants to do with us in the ocean. And honestly, if you've ever felt up a surfboard in a surf shop, new surfboards just feel really, really cool, and I like doing it as much as anyone else does. As we're feeling the deck right now, we're feeling a domed deck, but we're feeling a little bit less of a dome than we would normally feel in a standard shortboard. Pretty mellow looking dome up here, and as we look at the outline, we can see that the outline is elliptical. No bump in the tail. Rails, let's look at the rails. The rails, probably like a mid-rail, not super sharp, a little more volume than you'd see in a normal shortboard, but not like a super full rail. Pretty forgiving, pretty user-friendly, pretty accessible to a lot of surfers as a shortboard, but also might have some really good performance value if you can really surf really well. Looking at the rocker and the outline of this board, looking at the foil, we can see as we look at the nose rocker of this board, and as we look at the tail rocker, we know that this board has a little bit more mellow of an entry rocker than a standard shortboard. That tells us it's pretty good for down the line speed, and it'll also help us with paddling. But something interesting about this board is that it's got a pretty good amount of tail rocker to it. And off the bat, what that tells us is that this might be a pretty fun board for some chunky beach break, maybe some punchy waves. And the reason that that's true is because if we have not a lot of rocker up front, and we also have a little bit extra volume up front, maybe with a wide point forward, that really helps us paddle, helps us get into waves. It also helps with down the line speed. But where the tail rocker comes in is that's what really helps us maneuver in the pocket. It's what helps us turn up and hit the lip. It's what helps us go vertical. So this board is probably pretty functional so far in a few different types of waves and might really be user friendly. Let's look at the bottom of this board. We always take a look at the concaves. Concaves are very important in surfboard design. And as we look at this with our straight edge, single concave actually coming up extremely far on the Vapors. Single concave coming up pretty much all the way through the nose of the board. That's a really high single concave. And as it goes back, let's see if we got a single, a double, etc. We're going to take our straight edge and go through and check it out. This single concave turning into a double pretty early. Quick double concave. What they mean by a quick double concave is that the single concave quickly turns into a double concave, probably about under your front foot here, which means that it's going to be able to destabilize the board a little bit under your front foot, which can be helpful for front-footed surfers who put a little bit more weight on their front foot. It can also be helpful for moving our weight forward on a wave if we want to start planing better. Moving back down here, let's check out the double as it goes through the fins, because we've only looked at it through the middle of the board. Double concave all the way through the fins. Not a super aggressive double concave. It's there and it's long and it comes up to the midpoint of the board, but not a super deep double concave. And as we come out to the end, tiny little bit. V. Why do we have a V there? Because it helps us a little bit going to rail in the back. And as we look at that V, I am immediately becoming interested in the tail. We want to see what's happening in the tail of this board. The first thing that we know when we look at a diamond tail is that a diamond tail shortens the rail line of the board. It's very easy to see why, because if we just imagine this was a squash tail for a second, we know that right here the board would just come straight up and curve in like this. So we're actually taking volume out of the tail right here, and that's a pretty good chunk with a diamond tail. And because that shortens the rail, that means that when we're doing turns, we can probably change direction a tiny bit quicker. Speaking of changing direction a tiny bit quicker, two words that get thrown around a lot in surfing and surfboard design are quick and fast. And a lot of times it's easy to conflate the two and confuse them. When we talk about quick in surfboards, quick means how responsive a surfboard is. This is what it means for me. Quick means how responsive a surfboard is. So if a surfboard is quick, that means it's very sensitive to the ways that I push down on it. It's very sensitive to what I want to do. If a surfboard is not quick, that means I can push on it. I'm gonna move around my weight on it, and the board's kind of going to take its time responding. When we talk about a surfboard being fast, that means it's speed down the line. It's speed down the face of the wave, it's speed heading towards the shoulder, etc. This board is seeming like it's probably going to be a very quick and fast board. It's going to be quick in the way that it's responsive because of the width, the way that the foil blades out towards the tail and becomes much thinner over here than it is in the center of the board. It's also going to be quick and responsive to us because of the way that they do the rails, mid but thin, and also the way that we have this double concave coming up so far in the board. That's going to help destabilize it as we move forward on a wave. It's going to break up the water beneath the board. This will be a really quick board, seeming like a very versatile board. But again, as we were talking about the tail, the rail line is shorter. That helps us do more angular turns, not quite as drawn out like we would on a swallowtail. Because if this was a swallowtail, then we know that this rail line would come out further than this point right here. That'd be a much longer rail line, and we'd be doing much more drawn out turns like that. Looking at the fin setup on this board isn't meant to be surfed as a 5-fin, even though you've got 5 boxes for fins right here, and these are Futures boxes. This is designed to be ridden either as a quad or a tri-fin. The reason that this board would go good as a quad on a small day is you want more surface area in your fins on a small day so that you have more surface area to use to push against the water. If you're going really fast on a big wave, you don't really need the surface area in your fins to be able to push against the water to generate speed, but on a smaller day you do, because the wave isn't helping us with speed that much. Same way that when we have a board that's wider, like the Vapors is, and a board with a little bit less rocker in the front like the Vapors is, that also helps us have speed and playing down the wave. And I think that this would work really good as a quad on the small day. One last note about the rocker on the Vapors. There's not a lot of rocker in the center of the board, and that's going to help us plane as well. The rocker is mainly out towards the tail and up in the nose of the board. I think personally, what really excites me about the Vapors is I think it would be super awesome to surf in like a chunky beach break, kind of barreling, messy wave. This board, in my opinion, would take a lot of the lessons we've learned from the shorter, wider, less rocker movement and take those and put those into a board like this that we can surf in a little bit bigger waves. I think that maybe like shoulder high, foot overhead, barreling, chunky beach break, I think this board would really excel in those types of waves. One more thing about the graphics on this board. The graphics look really cool, but actually they're super functional. The thing about having bright colors on your board is if you break your leash, if you lose your board in the white water, you can see it easier in the white water if it's bright like this. When it's white like this, it just blends in to the white water of the wave. So if you've surfed the Vapors, please tell us. If you've surfed any similar boards like this, please give us a review in the comments below. If you like the video, click like, not the thumb, but the actual button on the left side of the video below. And as always, we really look forward to seeing you next time on Shred Show.